Hey Preston, how are you? You doing okay, bud?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me get
Good.
some housekeeping out of the way and then we'll get started, okay?
Cool. Can you hear stuff in the background?
I cannot.
All right, cool.
I cannot. And I'm actually traveling, so I'm sitting in the parking lot of a Chick-fil-A right now. So it may get a little crazy, but we're just going to roll with it. That's the fun part
Right
of
on.
Spaces. So let me get a few house cleaning things out of the way,
Cool.
and we'll get started. Um, First of all, welcome to everybody. I'm your host, Sherry Pluskota. I'm so happy you're all joining us live, or you'll be listening to our rebroadcast in the future. I thank you. Many thanks to my sponsor, Elevator Results. If you need a tailor made workout plan to help you lose weight or gain weight, Elevator Results can design that plan. Follow them on Twitter and check out their site at elevatorresultspt.com. Also, a little reminder, you can find the recordings of our past spaces and interviews on my YouTube channel at Sherry Pluskota 9212. My guest tonight is Preston McEwen. He is not only a husband, a dad, and a retired drummer. Hard to believe you're retired at anything. What are you, 12? Anyway, he is also a Run Good ambassador. My guest has 90 90 WSOP circuit caches and 19 WSOP caches and has won seven, yes, that's seven circuit rings. Preston has over $2.3 million on his Hendon Mob, with his best life cash over 183,000 for his first place finish in the $1,700 main event at the WSOP Circuit Stop in Tunica in January of 2023. Preston, I really appreciate you joining us tonight and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Look forward to it. It's been quite a buzz here in the spaces. Folks are really excited you decided to join me for this interview because they're always intrigued by your big chip stack sizes. So we're going to get into that in a minute, but let's ask some easy questions like how did you get started in the world of poker?
Um, so my uncle was a poker dealer and player for a long time out in Vegas, and my grandmother and great grandmother played recreationally, and so when we get together, for family vacations, we'd play around the kitchen table, and never really took it too seriously. We were playing for Skittles or pennies or whatever, and then I guess it was really like my early 20s. I started, playing a little bit more often, started playing with friends in small home games and playing bar league poker and, daily tournaments and small stakes cash games in Tunica. Um, and then really kind of caught the bug around then. And I was touring with my band, and whenever I had a night off in a town, I'd find the nearest casino and play 1-3, or when I was back home, I'd play in these bar league tournaments. But yeah, it's like through my 20s, it was just kind of like a recreational hobby.
Love it. And you mentioned Bar League Poker. I know you were the owner of a Bar League Poker league. Are you still an owner of a league, or have you turned that over to someone else?
No, I ran it for about 5 years. I moved to Memphis. I moved from Memphis to Murfreesboro, Tennessee in 2018, and they didn't really have a bar league going on that I thought was, you know, ran very efficiently. And so I decided to just start up my own. Did it for about 5 years, and then hung that up a few years ago when poker really started taking off.
Well, awesome. And I'm sure you got a lot out of that league. I think, I don't know, I know a lot of people that got their start in bar leagues for practice, right? And then have grown into the WSOP circuit or the Run Good series or the WPT because they wanted to, go on to bigger and better things, so to speak. And but so many people got their start in bar leagues, and I just think they're really a you know, lack of a better phrase, a gateway drug to the big leagues of poker.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's poker when you're first starting out, if you're playing in casinos, it can be a pretty expensive game to learn. And so I think bar leagues are a great way to affordably get the reps in and get the practice in to move on to the next level.
Absolutely, and just learn the mechanics of the game, right? And what the big blind, what the button is, and so on and so forth. So I'm all about the bar leagues and supporting them for sure. What are some common mistakes that you notice other players make on the felt?
Oh man, um, it's a loaded question. Um, yes, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, where do we begin? I think I think a lot of people, I would say, like overall in tournaments, a lot of people approach the game in kind of a backwards kind of way. It's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of people are playing, way too loose, passive early stages, and then way too tight late stages. And so like if you kind of counter that by doing kind of the opposite, I mean, you can still open up a little bit early stages of a tournament, but picking up the blinds in an early stage when it's increasing your stack by 1 or 2% isn't that significant. Where later stages, if you're stealing the blinds and increasing your stack by 10%, then it becomes pretty significant. And so I think that's like one of the most common mistakes I see people make is they tighten up a little too much late stages and they kind of dwindle their stack down by blinding out.
Well, and I mentioned earlier your stacks of chips, and I don't, and I've taken pictures of you myself at different functions, and I don't think I ever got a picture of you without a stack of chips in front of you. And so many people in the last 2 weeks have asked me to mention those stacks and try to pick your brain as to how do you acquire such stacks, because so many people get to the final tables or get to the bubble and they have 10 or less big blinds, and here you are with, you know 50, 100, 200 big blinds. So any secrets you can let loose for us tonight?
Yeah, it's really just staying active. I'm in a lot of pots. Um, I mean, you got to be malleable. There's going to be situations where you're kind of handcuffed and you can't force the action. But really, from like early stages, I'm in a lot of pots and I'm kind of applying a lot of pressure and aggression, and then the meta strategy is that eventually people are going to fight back at the wrong time when you have the goods, and then get these big double ups or you win these massive pots. And so it's really just kind of like, I call it like I like to be like Muhammad Ali and kind of duck and weave a little bit and then wait for like the Mike Tyson knockout punch.
I love it. I love that. I love the way you describe that. I think that will ring home to many people. Do you think, well, when you go into a tournament, do you have a set amount of rebuys you're willing to do? Like, do you have a cap?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not trying to rebuy several times. I'm not like jamming dark, hoping to get a lucky double up like some people will do on occasion.
Right.
Um, but I am fortunate enough to be in a situation where I'm not pressured to, okay, this is my last bullet that I can fire. And so if I feel like I'm playing well and I have an edge on the field, and if I was going to register this tournament, my first bullet at that time, and I thought it was a plus EV decision to do it, then I'm happy to rebuy. Sometimes I will like feel, I'm human. I do tilt just like anybody, but I've
Sure.
learned to control that a little bit. And so if I need to walk for 15, 20 minutes and cool off until I feel mentally ready to get back in there, I will.
How much do you think your person's game is affected by knowing that they either have another bullet or don't have another bullet when they're playing in a tournament?
Um, yeah, I mean, it can definitely play a pretty big role in the decision making when when you have these marginal spots where if you have an extra bullet, you can push the envelope, or maybe you can call off in a spot where you're getting the right pot odds, but if it's a freeze out situation, it might not be correct in a tournament, just because tournament life is valuable and ICM is a thing. So if you have that extra bullet, it can make it easier to play more. Really just consider the pot odds of a situation, or this is a spot. I try not to think of it like when I'm applying pressure that it makes a difference. If
Right.
if you're at a live poker stop and you bust the tournament, there's usually something else to hop into anyway. So I kind of treat whether it is registration's closed and I can't get back in, I kind of try to not let it play a factor in my decision making, but I know it can definitely affect other people.
Right. And I think it's good to have those conversations because sometimes we get into our own heads, right? And sometimes to hear it from someone else and their point of view on the topic can help someone in their decision making processes in the future. Do you? What is the most times you've rebought into a tournament?
um, Zero. Every buy-in is a new tournament. No, but there are these like tournaments that are kind of like turbo structure, multi-flight. You might have like a 6-flight tournament, and it can definitely be easy to pump in a few bullets. I think I fired maybe 10 to 13 bullets in some of these tournaments before, over the course of multiple flights, multiple days.
Sure, sure. And just so you know, I'm not just trying to put you on the spot or in the hot seat. I ask that of almost every one of my guests. So I'm always just curious as to, you know, what everybody's doing on that front. As you know, Cody Stanford was down in Biloxi recently and fired some 34 bullets into that $400 buy-in, and of which he went in blind most of those rebuys. Do you think that's
Right.
good for the game?
For the game, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have loose action and the prize pool is being, you know, pumped up through somebody giving loose action, I think that's always going to be good for the game. It might be frustrating for somebody who ends up taking a bad beat to a dark all in shove, but if they really think about it, if they step back and kind of think about the long term profitability of that situation, it's definitely good for the game.
All right. And tell me, do you have a set plan of action when you're like, do you dissect a tournament? Like, do you have a plan of action of what you're going to do at the start of a tournament, midway through a tournament, around the bubble, and so forth?
No, I actually try to avoid that. I think being um, being well studied and knowing how to approach different situations allows you to be malleable, and that's kind of the approach you want to have going to any situation in a tournament. Whether you're just getting in, you don't know who's going to be at the tournament, who's at your table in the tournament, what the dynamic's going to be like. So if you have some preset strategy going into it, it could actually be a pretty negative EV game script if that the table isn't allowing for you to approach it in that kind of way. And so
And
I try not to. Go ahead.
I could not agree more with you. I have a friend, and he was hell bent on by this many minutes into a tournament, I have to gain this amount of chips. By this, hour 2.5 of a tournament, I have to acquire this many chips. And I it was hard for me to listen to him to even explain it to me. And I was like, look, you have no idea what's going to happen at that table. Like it's too hard to set those limits even for yourself.
Right.
and to be focused on that instead of in the moment, at least for me, that's how I thought about it, is like you're no longer focusing on being in the moment. You're worried about those checkpoints. And I don't know how that is a good positive for the game.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think that's you're going to end up forcing situations that you don't need to. I actually have a friend who's a very successful, very good poker player. Kind of, he sets goals like that as well, but he keeps them somewhat loose and malleable. So he's not like I have to have this many chips by dinner break or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I just think that's not a very solid strategy in general.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And so I've been talking to a few folks about it, and I just thought I would pick your brain a minute about that. I'm going to welcome Karen to the panel. Karen, do you have any questions for Preston?
Not yet, but I'm enjoying the interview so far. Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I play at Cherokee too. And so maybe I'll run into you there sometime. I'll introduce myself.
All right, absolutely.
Karen is also from Atlanta. And I don't know, Karen, did you ever play at Little Kings and Queens?
No, that was just when I was getting into poker, and then I heard when I first heard about it is when it closed.
Oh, bummer.
Isn't that the one
Bummer.
that was up in Beaufort or somewhere? I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, I never got to
Yes.
go there because I just was starting, unfortunately.
Got it. Yeah, Preston did really well at Little Kings and Queens. And I miss that place, Preston.
Yeah, me too. They ran some fun tournaments, fun cash games. It was kind of a interesting little spot.
It really was. It was a diamond in the rough, and it's a shame that the knees were knocked out before it gained a little more momentum and we were able to get some laws passed. But hopefully, those are coming down the pipe. Fingers crossed. Now, the Run Good series is going to be in Tunica starting March 10th through the 16th. And I know you're an ambassador. And I'm actually excited that I'm going to be going to that series myself.
Oh,
Is
cool.
there anything you'd like to share about the Run Good series and the stop that's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Run Good. I was playing in Run Good tournaments before I became an ambassador. It's I think it's a really good if you're crossing over, especially from home games and bar league poker. It's a good avenue to find some lower buy-in tournaments. The main events comparatively to a circuit main or something are usually going to be a little bit smaller buy-ins, and you can still win decent money, especially in the mains. But yeah, it's they have like $100 tournaments up to $600-700. Some of the stops, I think the mains are like $1,100, but yeah, a lot of smaller buy-in tournaments. And they kind of have just like an overall more fun atmosphere than just about any stop I've ever played.
Well, I did go to the Cleveland stop last year, and I just loved it. I love the price points. I think it's a great series because of the price points. And the Tunica main event is a $600 buy in. There's also going to be a tag team event, a ladies event, a bounty event, and, anywhere, like you said, between 135, I think, and $600. And, great price points. For me, I'm not too far away. If I drove, it would be like 5.5, 6 hours. So I happen to be flying this time, but it's definitely Tunica is a good location for that series to come to. Are you going to be
Yeah,
there the whole week, or what are you doing?
yeah, I'll be there the whole time.
Okay,
I try not to
awesome.
miss any of the Run Good stops in Tunica.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm sure we'll see each other there for sure. Um, in recent days, I'm sure not only did you hear about it, but you've probably read 10 million tweets about it, like the rest of us have. Um, about that little Baltimore circuit stop and the ring event that Hawkins won. And the third place finisher ended up, losing a hand that he actually won. What do for me, the question is, what about the future? Because we all know the reporter didn't realize it until much later. So, no accountability there for the reporter as far as, bringing attention to it. But what do you think? what do you think we need to do about, that situation in the future? Should people speak out? Should we keep our mouths closed? What do you think?
I think anybody should be able to speak up. I know the poker org reporters specifically, they're instructed not to. Um,
Right.
and that's up to them. I think I think anybody should be able to, whether you're on the rail or you're somebody else at the table. I think if you're at the table, you kind of have an obligation to, if you catch it, to keep the game integrity intact. But yeah, as far as moving forward, I mean, it's just a whole mess of a situation, especially in such a big spot. And it's hard to really like blame anyone in particular. Um, Besides, like the dealers definitely just need to slow down, and at least they need to, push the winning hand forward, and that'll make it a little bit easier to make sure mistakes aren't made. I also think like there should always be a tournament director present at the table watching all ends at a final table.
I
So especially
agree.
a main event final table, I think
Yeah.
that's definitely something we can just really try to press moving forward. And then yeah, just tournament directors also just making sure that dealers are taking their time and not just killing hands too quickly.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at the hand, and we've been talking about it here in Spaces the last few days, but when I look at that, that video of that hand, it's just a calamity of errors, right? And the responsibility lays with the dealer and the players, right? And unfortunately, the dealer got caught up with the table talk. I mean, it is what it is. He got caught up in the table talk and it was unfortunate. And like I said, we just need to do better for the future. And I'm like you, if you see it, say something for the integrity of the game. Um, we all want it to be done right and the right person get the chip stack. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate situation for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, one thing I noticed in particular, and the player who lost the hand, he said he even like kind of doubled back and said like, "Oh, I thought I won the hand," even though he thought he won with a pair. I think that's just another mistake. It's like, all right, just it's so easy to just turn the hand wasn't, even though it's turned over, it wasn't killed yet. It's just so easy to turn that hand back over just to make sure, give that player peace of
Yes.
mind that they saw the board correctly.
Yes. It's unfortunate that that dealer didn't clue into that player saying, "Oh, I thought I won the hand." Unfortunately, the dealer didn't clue into that and say to himself, "Oh, let me double check." It really is just such a calamity of errors and, is unfortunate for sure. Fingers crossed that in the future, won't happen or it won't happen often. That everybody's learned a little something, something from this situation to help avoid it in the future. One of my longtime listeners, Michael, uh, has a question for you. He DM'd it to me the other day, and so I'm going to ask you on Michael's behalf to please rank your top three series or stops, and what makes them your favorite and or more enjoyable to play.
Yeah, so I think number one is definitely the Cherokee Circuit stop.
Right on.
Um, One, it's close to home, so it's easy for me to get there. I know it can be difficult for people traveling from
For sure.
much further away, but I love the tournaments, the massive numbers in most of the tournaments. I mean, there's very few circuit stops where you can go in. There's going to be like six opportunities to win six figures. Um, they also run sit and goes almost all day, every day. I don't really play cash games too often anymore, but the cash games down there are great. And then it's just like a beautiful environment too. If you want to get out of the casino, there's a lot of great hiking and waterfalls and mountains and all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, I think
Absolutely.
Cherokee. Yeah, Cherokee's a great one. Um, Number two is probably going to be. This only happens once a year, but the $1 million heater down in Biloxi.
Love that series.
Yeah,
In
it's definitely a
January.
great one.
Yeah, in January, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a similar thing. The cash games are amazing. The sit and goes are great. The staff is great. Tournaments are great. So yeah, food is great. They have so many great restaurants down there too. Yeah, definitely love that stop. And
And
then
it's on the beach,
and yeah, it's on. I mean, it's cold most of the time,
right?
but
But it's
every
beautiful.
once in a while you get lucky, and yeah, I mean it's January, but it is on the beach, and so when the weather's nice, you can. I've never actually jumped in the Gulf down there or anything, but you can take a little walk on the beach, and it's a nice little coastal town. I love seafood, and so lots of great options to eat. Um,
Absolutely.
and then I mean, really like any of the run good stops, and I'm not just trying to shill it because I'm an ambassador, but those are stops that I love to play even before I became an ambassador. So specifically Tunica, that's my home casino growing up. Being from Memphis, that's where I frequented and played most of my tournaments early in my career. And so it's always like going back home, and then just the run good atmosphere on top of it beats anything else.
Absolutely. And what about the Gulf Coast? I know that they're involved with the $1 Million Heater, but what about the series they run in Philadelphia, Mississippi?
Oh yeah, I mean it's hard to not include that in the top three as well. That yeah, Pearl River, they run it I think about 3 times a year. Um, an incredible stop. Like a lot of what I do when I travel is I try to stay close to home. I try to cut back on travel expenses, and so I'm gonna prioritize these stops where I either can get cheap rooms or I don't have to buy an expensive plane ticket. And if I need to get home, it's a shortish drive home to take care of the family. But Pearl River is awesome. If you play the whole stop, they'll give you a comped room. They have 2 buffets a day, so you basically like stay like room and board is free throughout the entire tournament. They also run sit and goes. The cash games are amazing there too. Um, yeah, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. When you're driving in for the first time, you might be like, how is there even a casino property where I'm 20 minutes away and I'm just like in the middle of nowhere driving through farmlands? But it's just once you get there, yeah, it's just awesome. I don't know. I
And
love that stop too.
I have not been there yet. It's on my bucket list of things to do for poker. But everybody always talks about what a great job they do of hosting, and they do so much for the players and take such great care of the players and make sure not only do they have a room, but they have food and are well taken care of. So kudos to them for really going the extra mile for the players. Now, tell me,
Yeah.
um, I'm sorry, I got lost. Somebody just walked past my car. They're looking at me like I've lost my mind. For those that are just joining me, I'm actually on my way to Florida right now, and I'm sitting in a Chick-fil-A parking lot doing this interview. So I'm sorry, I have my light on inside, and of course, my hands are flailing, so people are looking at me like I'm nuts as they're walking by, and I just happened to catch one of them. But please welcome Isaac to the panel. Isaac, did you have any questions or comments for Preston?
Yeah, my phone was glitching for a second, so I didn't hear what y'all were just talking about.
Oh,
We were talking about just some of my preferred stops around the country.
did you want
Yeah,
the
the
last?
one that you guys were just talking about sounded
Oh,
interesting. That you had to drive through
it's
farmland to get to
yeah, it's the Pearl River Poker Open in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Philadelphia, Mississippi. That already sounds fire. Pro River. Yo, Sherry. I'm pretty sure you have that like
I do.
somewhere notated.
DM me, DM me.
Yeah,
But
you already know. You already know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
okay, Isaac, I'm going to let you give us a 1 minute little spiel about the Green Visor Gang and this. I think you have 62 seats available for um, your special event. So go ahead and give us a quick lowdown before we continue.
Okay, real quick. Green Visor Gang. We play on Club GG. We do phases. Those are our seasons. They last 2 months. We play for about 10K plus, depending on how many of our passes are sold. What we collect, we redistribute pretty much back into the prize pool. Um, you can DM me if you want to get the mint link. We are currently minting our Phase 4 pass. Phase 4 is going to begin at the beginning of April. We are about a little more than halfway through phase 3 right now. And yes, we will have a WSOP thing that we'll be doing, probably announcing that Monday. I might be saying something on Poker and Bullshit tonight. Besides that, thank you, Sherry. You're awesome. Great interview. I'm out.
Thank you, Bud. I appreciate that. So hopefully I won't be out in the boondocks and I'll be able to listen to your space. You'll be starting here shortly. Appreciate you, Isaac, and the Green Visor Gang. They do a lot of stuff, bringing the NFT world and the poker world together, Preston, just for an FYI.
Cool.
It's very cool. Welcome to the panel. Matt, did you have some questions for Preston?
Hey, Sherry, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, Preston. Nice to talk to you. How are you keeping over there? You okay?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Not so bad. I've been watching your talents with the WSOP on YouTube, and you're very good. You know what you're doing. You're doing really, really well.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And what's been your favourite tournament that you've played in, and have you got any particular poker players that you admire?
So we just talked about some of my favorite stops, but I think my favorite tournament specifically has to be either the WSOP main or the WPT World Championship. It's hard to top those. I mean they're bigger buy-ins, but as far as like the tournament structure and just how they run the events, it's hard to beat those.
How many times have you played the main event, Preston?
Let's see. I think I've played it 6 times.
And your best finish?
57th.
Nice.
So yeah, I've cashed it
Nice.
5 or 6. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6, but yeah, I've cashed it twice. I had a min cash my second year playing it, and then my third year I had the deep run.
Love it. Good for you. Now, I predicted last year you were going to get that first bracelet, but I think you're on fire, even more so than you were in 23. I think it's going to be this year, Preston. Lucky number 7 ring and lucky number 1 bracelet.
I appreciate it. I mean, I've had some close calls, but it's tough. The fields definitely are tough out there in Vegas. They're massive fields, so definitely hard to win. And a lot of great players. So
For sure.
It'd be cool. It'd definitely be cool to make that happen.
For sure. And are you planning to stay the whole summer? What are your plans for this summer?
Well, last year I did the full 7 weeks, and it was pretty brutal. Normally I take like a week vacation or go home for a week in between, or right before the main. I don't think I'm going to do the 7 straight weeks this year. I'm probably going to do at least break it up and have like a little family vacation here and there. I know my wife and my kids are planning on coming out for about a week, and so I'll probably take some time off out there with them. And I've family in Southern California. We might go there for a week or so and just kind of break it up, especially before the main. You kind of want to reset and make sure you're not going in there just kind of going through the motions and on autopilot.
People think that living in a hotel room is such an amazing life. But, you do it for more than a week, and all of a sudden you're what I call road beat. Like it catches up to you. You're sick of eating out. You just want your own bed and, your family around you. And it takes a toll on you. So good for you for recognizing that you need to do some other stuff during that time, and reset the brain before the main event. Now, do you have a plan of action? Do you like to play the main event on the first day, flight A, or flight C, or what's your train of thought about that?
It kind of depends on what's going on. If I have day 2s or day 3s prior to that, I try not to just like force myself to play any particular flight. It also depends on how I'm feeling. Some days you just wake up not feeling 100%, and if that's the case, I try to shoot for flight B or C, but yeah, if I wake up just not feeling great, then I'll push it back a flight.
Right. Matt, did you have any other questions for Preston?
I did just one more really. I see, Preston, that you're also a retired drummer. What kind of music or band were you in? And did you ever do any tours like over here across the pond?
I was in a bunch of bands, but the main band that I had the most success with was a Ghost Town Blues Band out of Memphis, Tennessee, and I co-founded it and toured with them for about 9 years through my 20s. And when I was in the band, we never made it overseas, but we toured all over Canada and North America. I know that since I've left the band, they have gone overseas. I don't know how often they do that nowadays, but yeah, it was kind of like a blues rock jam band, funk fusion type thing. It was
Nice.
like like Allman Brothers and Led Zeppelin meets the Meters or something. It was pretty cool.
I love it. My husband worked with the Allman Brothers once upon a time. Go ahead, Matt, if you have any other questions, bud.
Thanks, Sherry, but I'm normally I have a few more questions, but unfortunately, I've had a really busy day. We've nearly finished our big project, and we're just finishing it off tomorrow. So I think I might get an early night skip. But been an absolute pleasure, Preston. Keep up the good work you're doing, my friend, and best of luck in the other tournaments that you're taking part in, Sherry. Been a pleasure, honey, and I'll see you around.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you and your questions. Preston, I gotta ask you. I was thinking about this the other day. Did when we were when Little Kings and Queens was still open, were you on that 12-hour live feed that Keith and I were in the booth for? Were you on that table? I can't remember.
The marathon
Yes.
session. I was. I don't know if it was the one that you commentated on. I know I met you there the first time. I can't remember if it was the main event, final table, or during that marathon session. But
I can't remember. But no, this was a cash game that I'm thinking about. It was a cash
right,
game.
I did. Yeah, I did the 12-hour marathon cash game at least one time.
The reason I thought about that is because Keith and I were in the booth and we were text messaging people at the table, asking them to do certain, like say certain goofy comments and or like tip over, like knock over your neighbor's chips or something. And then all of a sudden all the players at the table started comparing notes that we were texting all of them different shit to do. It was so funny. People thought I was drunk that night. I was like, no, I was stone sober. It was so funny.
I don't recall that, so I don't know if it was the same
Oh, it must have been a
marathon
different
session,
one
but
then.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I just remember flipping David was on that table. And oh my God, we had so much fun. And of course, we were just getting slapped happy stupid at, an hour 10. It was a 12-hour broadcast and, hour 10 in a booth and you just get slapped happy stupid. So anyway,
Yeah.
I had just thought about that when I was preparing notes for this interview and I was like, I can't remember if you were on that table or not. So anyway, great memories. I like to do something called rapid fire. I'm going to give you two choices. Please choose one, but it's also okay to pass. Are you game?
Let's do it.
All right. I promise I'll be gentle. Mountains or beach?
Oh, that's tough. Uh, Probably just narrowly, I'm gonna go with mountains.
Text or phone call?
Text.
Pizza or hamburgers?
A good cheeseburger, but that's a close one too.
Vanderbilt or Tennessee?
Vanderbilt.
Oh, boo.
Sorry.
Do
Really,
the dishes.
University of Memphis.
I love it. Do the dishes or do the cooking?
Cooking.
scary movie or comedy?
Oof, that's a tough one too. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with scary movie.
Thank you. That's all I got for you on those rapid fires. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I'm
no
going to
problem.
go back to Karen and see if she has any questions.
Yeah. I missed the very beginning, so hopefully I'm not asking something
Okay.
that was asked. But I was just kind of curious. Do you do you study poker, or are you more of a natural player that just learns from experience? And if you do study, what do you do?
Yeah, so through my 20s when I was playing kind of recreationally, I didn't study per se, but I watched probably every poker video there was in existence. I think I watched like every main event that was on YouTube 10 times over, and every poker video I could get my hands on, everything on Poker Go. Um, and that was kind of the extent of my studying through my first 2 years of playing professionally too. And then when COVID hit and live poker shut down, I had to basically like learn how to beat online poker to survive and provide for my family. And that's when I really dove deep into, the GTO and solvers and the actual like theoretical studying. And nowadays I study pretty often. I'm in a few different study groups. I coach. I also am being coached at the same time. Um, so yeah, I spend several hours a week studying, and yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like when live poker came back after the COVID stuff. It was kind of like a fusion of my natural intuition and just like experience mixed with all this theoretical studying that kind of like took my game to the next level. And I used to kind of think that you're either GTO or you're exploitative. And the more I study, the more I realize that they go hand in hand. And there is like if you're not well studied, it's really difficult to be an elite exploitative player.
Nice. Thank you for all that.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to give a little shout out. I see some folks in our audience that I appreciate y'all being here. Michael, Anthony, and LK, Little Kings and Queens favorite. I miss seeing you, Anthony. And I see Ronnie. I'm glad you're joining us, and Maddie and John, Dan. Glad you're with us, and Barry, of course, Karen and Isaac too. Appreciate everybody being here. Della, all of you, appreciate you. And if you're listening at a future time, I appreciate you as well. Um, Preston, some players like to listen to music, do some positive, you know, affirmation or some exercise. What do you do in the hours leading up to starting a tournament?
Um, Kind of a fairly simple routine. I mean, I've in the past I got real deep into Wim Hof breathing exercises, and you know, regrettably, I've kind of stepped away from that. I think it's very beneficial. It's something I kind of started up during 2021 when I had the deep run in the main, and a buddy turned me on to it. And so we'd spend 15 minutes. We'd go on a walk. We walk a couple miles outside, and this was like during November, Vegas, when the weather's beautiful. So we'd have this nice walk, real relaxing, and then we'd do 15 minutes of these Wim Hof breathing exercises. And I don't think I've ever been as mentally sharp as I was during that time. So I think that's like the ticket. I don't really eat a large breakfast before I play. I'll have maybe a protein shake or something, but and then yeah, like music is a big part of my life, and it helps me stay pretty grounded when I'm at the table, and so I'm constantly listening to music, and I have several playlists depending on how my mood is, and stages of the tournament ranges from very like ambient, like kind of more like spiritual type stuff, all the way up to like hip hop or like metal or something, that if I need to feel a little bit of energy and get ramped up a little bit.
So, do any of those playlists just have drum solos? Like, do you have like 20 drum solos?
No, not necessarily. There might be a couple sprinkled in there, but
I'm of the generation that, there used to be drum solos in a
right,
concert that
right.
went on for 15 or 20 minutes, right?
Yeah,
Or
I might
guitar
have some
solo.
John Bonham solos mixed in there a little bit.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, you know, there has been, for those, especially in the Southeast, have, had their ears to the ground on this topic. Um, there was all kind of accusations going on about Cody's stable. Is there anything you'd like to comment on that?
Um, yeah. So it's funny because I was accused in that thread. I've read the whole thing, and the people that are getting on there and saying things are hiding behind some screen name, and they're basing this all off of just results and no actual like. There's no reason for them to actually go in there and accuse those who are accused. Um, I know firsthand that nothing nefarious has ever gone on. Um, I know that like I hold the integrity of the game. Um, like this game's like very important to me. Even before I started playing professionally, like I uh, I feel this is like an outlet that it's just one of those games where you can get people from all walks of life together, and like it's kind of like the one activity there is where like you can literally bring in people from any walk of life, and so it's a very important game to me outside of just making money and you know feeding myself or whatever. So like when people who I've never met hide behind a screen name and get on there and for nothing other than just results try to accuse people of cheating to get those results. It's kind of like come on man, come on. Like you it
It really sets the world of poker backwards, right? We've come a long way. Are there improvements that still need to be made? Of course. The recent, RTA, the GTO solver being exposed on, some ACR Pro screens during innocent pictures of themselves, right? Playing. Things need to be tightened up and changed and blah, 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 blah. But, before people, and for those that don't know, there's accusations of chip dumping, cheating, blah, blah, blah. Well, unless you're ready to come to this discussion with proof, like, shut the hell up. These are people's reputations that you're damaging with innuendos and accusations that you can't back up with any proof. And that's where I'm at with it. Like, how dare you do this to the poker world and you come with no facts? You know, you have
right
nothing to prove your accusations. Go ahead.
and to be fair, like I have no problem with people probing and people if they feel something is suspect like trying to investigate. I think that's great for the game. I think that has to happen, but slandering people like they don't realize like this can ruin somebody's career um and so just to like just like false like or not false but like baseless accusations is like really damaging to not just the game but like specific people. So yeah, I'm all for people investigating whatever they think is if they see something nefarious, and checking it out and scoping it out. But like, hey, maybe like talk to those people first, or talk to a tournament director and like get eyes on the situation rather than just like blasting all over a public forum and trying to slander people and ruin their reputation.
100%. Absolutely 100%. And nobody wants our game more up and up than me and all the people that are listening to us right now, right? I mean, we all want it to be a fair and square game and be on the up and up. And so if you see something, say something, do something, but get proof. Like, don't just throw out a bunch of accusations, because you've got your feelings hurt because you lost a pot, which in a lot of cases is what the case is. come with the facts or just shut up. Honestly, that's where I'm at with that. I read some of that stuff, and honestly, I didn't even finish reading it because it was, frustrating because there's no proof. It's just a bunch of accusations, people throwing around all kinds of nonsense. So, anyway, I just wanted to give you a chance to comment on it. Um, because I think it's worth, the discussion for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I mean, I feel like in that forum, I spoke, what my perspective of everything. I welcomed anybody who thought they saw anything ever happen to come with me with like, hey, what happened? Who was at the table? What was the situation? And there'd be crickets. And so like I'm happy to talk about anything with anybody because I want people. I like my reputation in this game. Like it's very important to have a good reputation in the poker world, not only for backing purposes or like as an ambassador of the game. Like you want to keep your reputation intact. I think that's for anybody that's going to be pretty important. And then also like I'm happy to like discuss these situations with people if they feel like they saw a chip dump hand or something. Like, hey, who was it? What was the hand? How did it go down? Because like there's the one accusation that somebody had against me was they saw a guy call my all in with Jack High. And then I was like, well, how did the hand go down? Like, what was the situation? Who was the player? Because like maybe I have a history with this player. Because, hey, I called down a hand just the other day with Jack High correctly. I was called down a couple weeks ago in the Cherokee Main or a couple months ago with Jack High correctly. And so like these things happen. If you play enough hands, like, and you get enough hand history with people, there's going to be hands that maybe like to somebody who doesn't understand the dynamic at the table or is kind of newer to the game, they're not going to, there's going to be hands that maybe don't make sense to them. And I get that, but like, just like baselessly accusing somebody of being chip dumped to because they got called down with Jack High in a one-off spot doesn't make that person a cheater. Like,
Absolutely. And it's just so ridiculous to even say out loud and make that accusation. Like, it would be different if they could say, here were the 20 hands and the date the hands took place and blah, blah, blah. And, here's a picture of the board and here's a picture of what everybody, it's just so baseless. And
right.
it just is not good for the game. Like, this does nothing for us. Nothing whatsoever. If you come with proof, let's go. I'll be the first to help you expose it. But don't come with just a bunch of nonsense and ruin people's reputations. Like, fuck off in plain English, people.
Yeah. And like, fortunately, I mean, anybody I've played with or knows me well knows that like, I value the integrity of the game. And so I'm not too worried about some random person hiding behind the screen name and what they think. But still, like, I do want the public to understand, like, hey, yeah, like, I mean, you can't just go out there and slander people for no reason.
100%. And we have to call them out for that. Like, I mean, when I was reading it and the names that were being thrown out there, I was like, okay, no. Like when I read your name, I was like, no. Of all the people in the poker world, like, no, this is not the one, people. This is not the
Man,
one.
it's wild. Yeah, I
It
mean,
is crazy.
it is what it
Absolutely
is.
crazy.
They see the wins. They don't see everything else in between. They think like, oh, this person wins every tournament in Tunica. They don't see the big downswings in between.
Well,
So
they didn't see you rebuy in 10 times, damn it, either. Like,
or that, they think they know how stables work or backing works. They think like I share like pieces of like people that might be under same stable or something. I don't share action with any of these people. They have no incentive to give me chips. I have no incentive to give them chips. When I'm at a table, I'm trying to win everybody's chips. And so
right on. I hear you. I hear you. And guess what? Anybody that has been around you knows that you're always sitting on a stack of chips, and it's almost uncanny. And I joke around that Jamie and Ari Engel are like the luck boxes in poker, right? And they'll even tell you their stories, and you're like, damn, that was really lucky that like Maria Ho well, it became your mentor. Just the clear blue for Jamie, or you know,
Jamie Bertuccio
ver-
or
yeah,
okay.
yes, and and I interviewed her, and I was like, Jamie, you're such a you're like the female version of Lucky Ariangle. You're the lucky female version of that, and in your case, you're just working hard and you're collecting chips along the way, and the stack keeps growing. And for me, just as an observer looking in, sometimes I'm like, I think he's at it again. Like the stack is growing, and I'll take a walk around the room and come back in an hour or two, and the stack is bigger, and everybody at that table is looking at that stack with the eyes of green, the green envy eyes.
Well,
So
well,
I
going back to like
okay.
Jamie and Ari, I mean, um, I don't think anybody's gonna have like inherently more luck than anybody else. I think people make their own luck in poker. And Ari is, I think, one of the best players I've ever played with, and Jamie's a great player as well.
100%.
So these people are
100%.
like they're involved in pots, and they know how to play. They play really well, and so yeah, you're going to see them get lucky on a river, or you're going to see anybody who's constantly in pots. They're going to end up they're going to run a bluff with like 4 outs and hit their gutter on the river, and then get paid. But yeah, so it might look like luck on the surface, but it's really just people being involved and making their own luck through just
And
aggression.
I totally agree, and I wanna be clear. When I was talking about their luck, I meant in stories that they told us,
Yeah.
like Jamie, getting the hookup with Maria Ho, just,
Oh yeah.
the moon and the stars aligned. I'm talking about that luck. They are very, very capable, and, they're building their stacks as well. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I was saying. Um, but and they're great poker players, like both of them. I was around when Jamie got started a few years ago, and met her at Best Bet in Florida, and happy to call her friend, and I'm looking forward to seeing her soon as well. And Ari Engel, like, how can you not love Ari Engel and what he does in the world of poker,
He's
right?
the best. He's
Yes.
the true circuit goat. Um,
Yes. And his story is so fascinating as well.
right.
What he has done through the years, right? And where he is today, and as a result of it. I love it. Now, I see your friend Dan Lowry down there in the audience. Um, tell us tell us a story about Dan and your friendship. How did that start?
So Dan and I think the first time we really met and played together was it was in let's see, it was in Tunica. I don't think it was a run good stop. It was I believe it was the Winter Poker Classic main event, and we both got pretty deep in the tournament, and we were the two big stacks remaining. And I remember Dan. I was kind of at that point kind of just starting my poker career. I think it was the first year I was kind of playing full time, and I was still a bit of a fanboy, if you will. I was listening to poker podcasts left and right, and listened to several of his interviews, and he was just kind of like somebody I looked up to as a family man, and a great poker player. And so I remember I think it might have been the final table. We got to the final table, and he asked to borrow my phone charger, and I was like, wow, like the circuit goat is asking me for my phone charger. It was like kind of like I was like, that's how nervous I was in this moment. And
I love it.
I think I ended up busting him by winning a flip, and then we kind of just like started talking here and there. He was part of the Run Good team at the time, and then got hooked up with the Run Good team and just started traveling together and rooming together here and there. Um, and he's not only like through poker been a great mentor, but just like life in general and how to navigate the game with a family. And yeah, he's become one of my best friends, and
I love it. And he's such a great guy as well. And Dan, this is a little shout out to you and your success on the poker table as well as being a family man. Kudos to you. And just another little hint, I'll be hitting you up for an interview here in a few weeks. So prepare, prepare for an interview, Dan. We'd love to have you. Kieran, I'm going to give you another chance. Any more questions, my friend? Uh-oh, she may be on her, she does a Twitch
Sorry,
channel.
sorry.
Kieran, are you, that's okay.
It was in my pocket and I was walking around. I couldn't get it out fast enough. Sorry. So yeah, I was curious, Preston. Um, and you may have addressed this already, but like I said, I missed the first 5 minutes. But anyway, um, how old you were and when you first learned to play poker, and who taught you?
Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit early on, but growing up, my uncle was a poker player and dealer. Try to pursue it full time, and it didn't work out. But he kind of taught me a little bit. My grandmother, my great grandmother, were actually like kind of poker sharks, and grandmother still is to this day. And when we'd get together, over the summer, we'd play family games for Skittles and pennies or whatever, and that kind of like got me into the game. I had no idea how to play really, and my uncle would tilt if we put a bad beat on him. He would kind of just throw his cards down, and it kind of like goes to show like he didn't really have the mental fortitude for poker to make it a career. He kind of couldn't handle playing with a bunch of beginners, but it was my early 20s. I started playing with friends and home games and bar league poker and small stakes casino games, and through my 20s it was kind of like a side hobby, and then I started like eventually making almost as much money doing that as I would playing music. And so I never really expected it to become a career, but about 7 years ago I left my band and didn't really know what I was going to do, and then started finding tournament success and just dove a little bit deeper into the game, started studying and working on my game, and made a career out of it.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Kieran. I'd like to welcome Ronnie Day to the panel. How are you, Ronnie? Press that
Can you hear me?
microphone. There you go. Yes,
Oh,
sir. How you doing, bud?
not too bad. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You have a question or comments for us?
All right. Yeah, I was going to ask Preston. Luckily, I haven't been at too many of his tables. We've been in the same room a lot. But yeah, with his studying habits, or Preston, with your studying habits, and how good you are already at the game. How do you find you probably put in more volume than I do. How do you find the time to study, and how much of it's just repetitive?
So I travel about half the year playing live, and when I'm back home, I'm I got to try to balance the family life too. And so when my kids are at school, I spend that time studying and coaching and being coached and study groups and stuff. And then after the kids go to bed, I'm either, if I'm not hanging with the wife, I'm playing online, and then I'll take these online hand histories and go back and review them either by myself or with students or coaches and study groups, and just like constantly critiquing my game.
Yeah.
So
You just love it. you just
man, I really do. I haven't been burned out yet, thankfully. And I try to balance it to where if somebody's just playing full time all year round and has no like life balance, it's going to be easy to get burned out. And so fortunately it hasn't happened yet. And yeah, I just immerse myself because I just
so
love it.
you just go hard for the spring and the summer, and then you know pretty much just take it easy and regroup.
Really year round. I live in Tennessee, and there's year round there's going to be stops within 4 to 6 hour drives of where I live, to where I can I can play full time. What I do is I'll go play, 10, 12 day stop, and then I'll go home for 10 or 12 days, and then I'll go back out, and it's kind of like a fireman schedule, I call it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do. Yeah, I have it generally play a lot of cash through the fall and the winter, and then spring and summer hit the tournaments. But
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. I have a hard time finding time to, or making the time. I guess I don't. I just don't love it as much. But making the time to study and increase the skill set. But
Yes. So with the people I coach, a lot of them, they have full time jobs and lives outside of poker, and I don't expect these people to put in 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day studying. Um, what I try to do is show them the most efficient way to get value from their time when they study. And so I'll show them ways where, like, hey, 15 minutes a day, if you run through these trainer tools, you can sharpen your pre-flop game, and then maybe like dedicate 1 to 2 hours a week whenever you can get it in, studying outside of that. And so it's really just about like increasing your efficiency when you study.
yeah, yeah. Well, all right. Yeah, my second one was on the chip dumping. Uh,
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
get back to what you were saying, earlier, where people are going to call you down light. I think you're right on it. I mean, we was in a high roller together, and I was really tempted to dump my stack on you on a on a hand, and the way you called the flop, I even got the best turn to double barrel, and I was like, oh shit, he knows, and I just gave up. So I'm sure you get a lot of stacks dumped off to you at with marginal hands. Just
Yeah, it's just like
sniff it
the
out.
saying, like, if you give action, you're going to get action.
Yeah, yeah, you just sniff it out really good, and so yeah, it's gonna look funny, but I mean, obviously, you're not getting chipped up around the country. You're doing this everywhere. You're running it up everywhere. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think if you're aggressive and you're in a lot of pots, people get tired of your shit, and eventually they're going to hero call you. And
and generally,
sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong.
yeah, and generally, the only people that's accusing you of this are the people that are constantly losing anyways, and they want an explanation for why is this guy great and I'm not, kind of deal. So, yeah, I just think you're doing a
Yeah.
hell of a job, and yeah, open up, let that for you, buddy.
Well, I appreciate it, Ronnie.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate you, Ronnie.
Well,
As always, love it. All right, I'm going to let you off the hook, Preston. I
All
try
right.
to
Well,
keep it to an hour or so just
yeah.
because I appreciate your time and willingness to share your knowledge with us. And I hope you join me again. And I hope it's right after that first bracelet.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Sherry.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Yeah.
Hopefully, I will not be at your table. Just a hint, but
I'll see you at the final table.
that I'll take. That I will take, and your chips, please and thank you. For everybody that's tuned in, I appreciate you. Kieran, thanks, and Ronnie, and Matt was here earlier, and Isaac as well. I appreciate my listeners. Thank you so much. Preston, good luck, my friend, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.